First 2023 regular meeting of the Camden County Board of Election and Registration is called to order. All members are present except Barbara Hahn and Julian McCullough. A quorum is achieved. Please rise for the opening ceremonies. Let us pray. Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you at this hour asking for your blessing and guidance as we move forward with the process of changing some polling locations, altering precinct boundaries, and consolidating a couple of precincts. We ask that you protect those that could not be here today. We ask that you lay your healing hands on those that are sick and suffering, and wrap your loving arms around those in need and provide them with comfort and hope. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Before we move on to agenda adoption, I just want to talk about last Tuesday was September 19th. That was National Voter Registration Day. And I'll give you a little background on the National Voter Registration Day. About 2,000 civic organizations around the country, including League of Women Voters, Headcount, the Bus Federation, Rock the Vote, came together, and in September 25th on 2012, that's when National Voter Registration Day came about. By 2022, the National Association of Secretaries of State, the National Association of State Election Directors, and the U.S. Election Assistant Commission and the National Association of Election Officials had endorsed the National Voter Registration Day. Since the inception of the National Voter Registration Day, 5 million Americans have registered to vote in association with that. On Tuesday night, the Camden County Board of Commissioners proclaimed that National Voter Registration Day, and I would like Katie to please read the proclamation.
I would be glad to. Whereas the right to vote is a fundamental cornerstone of our constitutional federal republic, empowering citizens to have their voices heard and participate in the governance of our great nation. And whereas the right to vote is sacred and empowers individuals to shape the direction of our community, state, and nation. And whereas National Voter Registration Day is a nonpartisan national effort to ensure that every eligible citizen has the opportunity to register to vote and make their mark on the future of our country. And whereas Camden County, Georgia recognizes the importance of fostering an engaged and informed electorate with resources and access to participate in the electoral process, with the understanding that active participation in this constitutional process is vital for the well-being and progress of our community. And whereas voter registration is the first step towards exercising this essential right of every American, and by encouraging voter registration, we are promoting civic responsibility, inclusivity, and equal representation for all residents of Camden County. And whereas September 19th, 2023 marks National Voter Registration Day, a day dedicated to raising awareness about voter registration opportunities and ensuring that every eligible citizen has the chance to register to vote in upcoming elections. And whereas Camden County, Georgia seeks to uphold the principles of fairness, transparency, and accessibility in its electoral processes, and recognizes that the strength of our constitutional federal republic depends on the active participation of our citizens. And whereas by proclaiming September 19th, 2023 as National Voter Registration Day in Camden County, we reaffirm our commitment to fostering a robust republic and encourage all eligible residents to register to vote and make their voices heard throughout the nation. Now therefore be it resolved by the Camden County Board of Commissioners, we do hereby proclaim September 19th, 2023 as National Voter Registration Day in Camden County, Georgia. We urge all eligible citizens to seize this opportunity, register to vote, and engage in this constitutional process. Let us work together to strengthen our constitutional federal republic and ensure that the values of freedom, equality, and civic participation continue to flourish in our great country. That's right here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Moving on to adoption of the agenda. If there are no objections, I will amend the agenda to include under new business item 3, certification of the Woodbine November general election. Are there any objections?
No.
Are there any other amendments or corrections to the agenda? There being no other amendments or corrections, the agenda is adopted as amended. Has everyone had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from the August 17th regular board meeting?
Yes.
Are there any corrections or amendments to the minutes?
No.
There being no corrections or amendments, these minutes are approved as written. Moving on to public comments for agenda items only. No public comments. Financial report, August 2023, end of month report.
All right, board members, you have the financial statement for last month, for August, in front of you. I don't have anything special to point out. Does anybody have any questions? We're not really spending a lot of money right now, which is good.
We will.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right. Any questions on financial report, board? Seeing none, we'll move on to election supervisor update.
To go along with the National Voter Registration Day information that Kyle just provided, the three of us, Dennis, myself, and Deborah, were at the high school on National Voter Registration Day. We have a table set up outside the lunchroom. So we see the students as they go into lunch and as they come out. And we were able to get 30 students registered at National Voter Registration Day. So that's a great turnout for us. We usually don't have that high of a number. And we had a really successful day. We had still probably a lot of kids that looked at us like we were crazy. Like, what do you mean? Why do I register for what? And then we had some that said, I'm not into politics. And, so we tried to give them a little lessons here and there. We got a few of them to register. So 30 is good. We also had 7 registrations that came in that day in the office, either mostly online, I believe. So in addition, we had the Secretary of State here with us today. Board member Kelly Stofflet was present for the training session that Dr. Jesse Harris provided today on absentee ballots by mail. It was live streamed he did the training in our building in the historic courtroom, and it was live streamed across the state. I think it was pretty successful. It lasted about an hour and a half. We appreciate IT's help for helping us get that set up. And that was good. I think it's important that we see the Secretary of State's office this far south, because oftentimes they don't come and visit us. And I don't think he really realized where we were until he put it in his map to find his hotel, and he's like, holy cow. So we were a little further south, I think, than he thought, but he had a great visit. We gave him a tour of the office. Our liaison was here with him as well. It was his last visit to our office as he departs on a new adventure into aviation next month. So we'll be getting a new liaison. But overall, a very good training session today. We had participants in-house from, I thought I wrote it all down, Ware County, Coffee County, Glenn County, of course, Wayne, and Charlton. Douglas with coffee. Yeah. So we had a really good turnout from our region, and then they could watch. There were a lot of people on the live stream version as well. So it was a good training. I think we're probably talking a little bit about our NPOC public hearings, but we had turnout. We had actually people that participated in the public hearings this month, so that's great. They gave some positive feedback. And also in the month of September, we participated in a Region 14 meeting. That is the local election offices from our region. We met in Brantley County, and there were about 25 participants. The Secretary of State also sent a member of the systems team down, Rebecca Anglin, and she talked to us at length and gave us really good information on Jarvis. So, and our numbers. As of today, we have 37,757 active voters. I shouldn't say as of today, I'm sorry, August 31st. Inactive voters, we have 5,500 for a total of 43,259. Those numbers will be a little different next month because we're doing a lot of NCOAs. So we're at 36,000 active voters as of today and 43 total. So it's been changing. We've been taking people on and off the roll with the national change of address, as well as those that haven't participated in any election events in the last two general election cycles. So the numbers have varied a lot here lately. And Chairman, that's all I had for my report.
Anyone have any questions for the election supervisor?
No.
Moving on to new precinct opportunities report. Are there any amendments or to the MPOC report? Has everyone had a chance to look at it first?
Yes.
If there are no objections, the chair, there being no amendments, the MPOC report is adopted as presented. Dennis, the floor is yours. Dennis will be having a presentation from the MPOC.
All right, good afternoon, board. It's a pleasure to be speaking to you here once again, 4 months after our initial appeal for the creation of the new Precinct Opportunities Committee to come to you with our findings. So I want to begin with just a little overview of what all we did. We came together and had 7 overall total meetings, 1 taking place in the Kingsland Annex meeting room, the rest taking place in the Woodbine Historic Courtroom. And overall, I believe they were very insightful and very decisive meetings in which we were able to get right at the fundamental understanding of what it means to change a precinct and to change a place where someone votes, and where what that means to individual voters. So I'm going to go ahead and get into my presentation here. Yeah, that's the correct one. So go back a slide. One. There we go. So I'm going to be speaking. Back one more. Yeah. I'm going to be speaking on a couple actionable items here today. The areas of opportunity that the NPOC discovered. A summary after I go through all of them to refresh everybody. Public hearings, relevant codes, and then at the end I will have a Q&A session for the board members that have any additional questions. The areas of opportunity. Some of you might be familiar with this presentation already. This is a modified version of the one that I presented at the public hearings. It's very straightforward with North St. Mary's, Historic Kingsland, Browntown, and Mush Bluff and St. Mary's. So starting with North St. Mary's. The NPOC found it began its increase with the North St. Mary's precinct. We found it to be significantly underused compared to all other election day precincts. In every election since the beginning of 2020, it had the lowest turnout among all all participating precincts, including precincts that were already merged. So that includes Browntown, Kingsland, St. Mary's, and Mush Bluff. Additionally, it had not broken 50% turnout in any election since the start of 2020. And we found that we were paying over 200%, the board was, per voter than other similarly situated precincts like the South St. Mary's precinct in terms of voter registration to those precincts, so the number of voters they serve. So the actions that we decided to take as a committee was to transfer voters that reside in and around the Mush Bluff precinct. So that's Mush Bluff Road, Elliott's Bluff, And we're going to move those voters to the north. We propose that we move those voters to the North St. Mary's precinct. Our reasons for this are threefold. The first being an easier commute to the polls for North St. Mary's, for those voters that are changed. Right now, they're having to go all the way over to Agape. Now they just be a straight shot down Charlie Smith Senior Highway to the St. Mary's Church. The second is increasing the number of voters at the North St. Mary's precinct that is within a level that the precinct can handle. We did go to the North St. Mary's precinct and we did take a look at it, and we are certain that it can handle the estimated 3 additional voting booth setups that are required by state law. And additionally, it reduces the number of voters at the St. Mary's precinct. So that's Agape. Technically the Mush Bluff precinct, but it's merged with the St. Mary's precinct into the Agape polling location. So this is the new map that we are proposing. As you can notice, it's very similar to the original one. You just notice that instead of going straight up Charlie Smith Senior Highway all the way up to the river, it's going to take a left and encompass those voters up at the Elliott's Bluff area. We're going to move on to the next precinct, which is going to be Historic Kingsland. So with Historic Kingsland, that being North Kingsland and Kingsland, we found that they're both slightly underused and suffer from small polling locations compared to number of registered voters signed up to those polling locations. These precincts, they suffered from electrical outlet shortages, and just overall size deficiency that made fulfilling that 1 voting booth per 250 voter threshold difficult. Additionally, the highest turnout between either of these precincts on election day was less than 24% since 2020. So what are our actions? Well, we're merging we would propose to merge the North Kingsland and Kingsland precincts, and to expand the border of this new precinct to the southwestern border between Scrubby Bluff Road and US 17. So that border will now be, instead of being on Scrubby Bluff Road, it will be on US 17, encapsulating those some 800 voters. Our reasoning for this is, like I just stated, the current polling locations are becoming unusable due to size and electrical outlets. And then the new polling location that we took a look at, it looked very, it appeared that it would function incredibly as a polling location. It was optimal, it had great outlet support, it had great size. And we believe, we are confident that it can handle the estimated 19 voting booths required in state general elections. And then finally, it's an easier commute for those voters between Scrubby Bluff Road and US 17. Right now, they're having to go all the way over to the harbor to vote. Now, they're just a straight up shot up 17 to the Kingsland Municipal Court. So I'll move forward and show you all the map. This would be the map of the new precinct. It expands all the way up north, up there on 17, all the way down to the Georgia-Florida border, with a cutout to the west that is existing in the North St. Mary's precinct currently. And its polling location is right in the middle of the precinct. We thought that was an amazing opportunity for all the voters. It would make it a similar commute from the people on the north end all the way down to the people on the south end, and we were very proud of that fact. So we're going to move on now to some minor changes. With Browntown and West Kingsland, they're already voting at the same polling location. The size is not unmanageable, so we propose that we merge these 2 precincts. They're already operating as the same precinct. They're essentially all that, but in name only. So we figured that would be easier and less confusing for voters. The same can be said of Mush Bluff and St. Mary's, and that is what we propose. We propose that since these precincts are operating as the same precinct and everything but name, we would like to merge them to make it easier on the voters to understand where they're voting, and not have those strange conversations. I vote in Mush Bluff, I go to Agape. I vote in St. Mary's, I go to Agape. Which one of us is right? Well, you're both right, and now you won't have to have that conversation any longer. So if we can switch over to the next one, I put both maps on here. So that's the new St. Mary's and Mush Bluff map on the left. It is now just going to be St. Mary's. And as you can see, it's the same as who are currently voting there, except for that one cutout up at the Elliott's Bluff area. Additionally, on the right, you'll see the new West Kingsland map. That is the proposed name for the merger of Browntown and West Kingsland. And that is also the same as both of those precincts extending out to Camden County's western border, except the eastern border and that southeast portion no longer follows Scrubby Bluff Road. It will only extend to US 17. And then finally, Woodbine. So our action for Woodbine is very simple. With Woodbine, we found that City Hall is becoming small, nice rhyme there, for what it has, for how many voters it must service. Additionally, we found that the scheduling for that specific polling location was becoming more difficult, is making it more difficult to secure equipment in the small time between elections, so before and after. And overall, we just found a suitable replacement in the First Baptist Church over on 8th Street. They have an amazing space, great electrical outlet setup, and it's very spacious, very large, and we believe that it offers a much more convenient polling location for than Woodbine City Hall. It has more space, parking, and most importantly, it's more amenable to the 2024 election cycle and the schedule within, which makes it easier to secure our voting equipment in that location. So moving on to that map. The precinct itself will stay the same, no changes to the boundaries. We're just moving the polling location, I'd say a good 1.5 miles south. That's really it. That's all that's being changed about that. So I'll move on to the summary now. With North St. Mary's, we're going to be adding voters from the Mush Bluff precinct to encourage voter participation in the North St. Mary's precinct. Historic Kingsland will see reorganization to address current areas for improvement. So that means we're going to be merging North Kingsland and Kingsland and that area between Scrubby Bluff Road and US 17 and giving them a much larger space to vote in. Browntown, West Kingsland, Mush Bluff, and St. Mary's, we're going to be consolidating these precincts to increase the election efficiency. And then finally, Woodbine would be receiving a new, more spacious polling location that is still convenient to voters. So we proposed these changes and we voted on all of them. And once we voted on them, we decided we wanted to have public feedback in case there was any strong public feelings towards the change, positive or negative. We wanted to hear it so that we could make adjustments if necessary. So we held two meetings. One at St. Mary's Church, one of the precincts seeing one of the larger changes at 10 a.m. on September 6th of 2023. And in the evening, we held one on at the Camden Chamber of Commerce, again, right next to where that change will be experienced in historic Kingsland. We held that one at 6 p.m. on the same day. And then finally, we were invited by the Camden County Republican Party to show these changes to their members the following day, September 9th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. So throughout all three of these public engagements that we attended, the changes were very well received by all attendees. The attendees, their primary focus was on voter notification. We worked together, the election staff and the NPOC worked together, and to assuage those fears, we reiterated that there will be multiple public notices, be it in the legal organ of the paper, be it on the polling locations themselves, and then additionally, every voter that sees a change as of the outcome of these of the actions that you may take based on these recommendations will be receiving a precinct card in the mail outlining the districts they're going to be voting in, the precinct they're going to be voting in, and the polling location they will be voting at. and that's what the comments were primarily about. There were a few about districts and asking what could be done about the situation of having multiple districts in a single precinct. There was limited actionable material that we could take on in that regard. We did the best with what we had, and we didn't alter the existing number of precincts within a specific polling location. So that's what I had for public hearings. And then moving on to relevant codes. So this is relevant codes that you might need to know. The first being Georgia Code 21-2-367B subsection 1. In each precinct in which an optical scanning voting systems are used in a statewide general election, the county election superintendent shall provide at least one voting booth or enclosure for each 250 electors therein or fraction thereof. So that is what I was referencing earlier in the presentation. In statewide general elections, we are required one voting booth per 250 voters. That's why electrical outlets are so important. That's why space is so important. And that was a key driving force in our decision making. Moving on to Georgia Code 21-2-262, Section C, subsection C. Upon the presentation of any such petition by the Board of Registrars or upon the filing by the Board of its report and recommendation as to any investigation presented under subsection A of this code section, the superintendent may make such order for the division, redivision, alteration, formation, or consolidation of precincts as will, in the superintendent's opinion, promote the convenience of electors and the public interest, provided, however, the superintendent shall not make any final order for division, redivision, alteration, formation, or consolidation of precincts until at least 30 days after notice of such change shall have been advertised in the legal organ of the county. So, long story short, the board can make alterations to precincts and polling locations, provided they at least offer 30 days notice in the county's legal organ. And then finally, Georgia Code 21-2-265, Section A. Except in the case of an emergency or unavoidable event occurring within 10 days of a primary election, which emergency or event renders any polling place unavailable for use at such primary or election, the superintendent of a county or the governing authority of a municipality shall not change any polling place until notice of the proposed change shall have been published for at least 1 week for 2 consecutive weeks in the legal organ for the county or the municipality in which the polling place is located. Basically, what this means is the board must provide notice of any polling place change once a week for 2 weeks in the legal organ of the county. So, for our next slide, I ask you for any comments or questions you may have that I might be able to address.
Would have anything for Dennis?
No.
No? Well, thank you, Dennis.
All right, I thank you for your time and thank you for allowing me to present my findings, sorry.
Appreciate that. All right, moving on to new business. Item number 1, provide approval to election supervisor to publish in the legal organ of Camden County the notice of newly proposed precinct and polling location changes as presented by the MPOC. And we do have a item agenda summary.
Yes,
Has everyone had a chance to read that as far as the board is concerned?
yes. Motion
Right.
to approve this item.
Pardon?
Motion to approve this item.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to item 2, discussion concerning change. Actually, before we move on, the polling location change, it only requires a 2-week notification. We're going to run that for a 30-day, same with the polling or precinct changes. So that'll be a change. So it'll all run together. All right, moving on to discussion concerning the change in November regular meeting date. I put this on the agenda because the 30-day notification is going to be right around the 1st of November. And we wanted to go ahead and get that process started so we can approve all the changes at the beginning of November. I'm proposing November 6th to get the process started and get the notifications out and get the precinct cards started. So I move that we move the November regular board meeting to November 6th at 4 p.m. Can I get a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, as amended on the agenda, certification of the Woodbine November general election. Ms. Nettles, the floor is yours.
Chair Rep, I have a notice of the election cancellation for you all to sign to certify that the above candidates that are posted on the sheet, which I'll provide you momentarily, have deemed to be voted for themselves, and thereby the election is canceled, but also certified with their vote. And this was already posted in the paper last week, so it has run. And this is just for you all to sign.
Right. What's that? You want me to, yeah, we'll just. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll sign the rest of them after the meeting. I move we certify the Woodbine general election. I have a
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The Woodbine's election is certified. Moving on to training. And today we're going to be talking about voter registration. I will be doing the training again. All right, the code section is 21-2, 216, 17, 19, and 24. And those can be found on the Secretary of State's website. And I encourage everyone that is going to be looking at anything, don't go off my presentation, actually go to the code and look at the code. And the SEB rules, you can find those if you go to any search bar, type in Georgia State Election Board rules, and it will come up. And the rule is 183-1-6. Next. All right, so 21-2, 216, that's where we're going to start out. It talks about qualification of electors in general, registration of electors purged, evidence of citizenship, and we're also checking convicted felons and deceased persons databases. Next. All right, so no person shall vote in any primary election held in this state unless such person shall be registered as an elector in a manner prescribed by law, a citizen of the state and of the United States, at least 18 years of age on or before the day of the primary or election in which such person seeks to vote, a resident of this state and the county or municipality in which he or she seeks to vote, and possessed all of the qualifications prescribed by law. So, can you back up? So those are the 5 qualifications you have to have before you can become a registered voter in Georgia. Next. Also said no person convicted of a felony unless they have completed their sentence can register to vote or remain on their voter rolls. If you have been deemed mentally incompetent, you cannot register or stay on the voter rolls. Back up. You're not done. There you go. So this is where it talks about the 18-year-old. Now, at 17 and a half years old, you can register to vote in the state of Georgia. You cannot vote until you're 18, but you are allowed to register to vote at 17 and a half. Next. And talks about no person shall remain on the voter list once they become ineligible, we'll remove them off the voter list. There's only application for registration on this chapter shall be accompanied by satisfactory evidence of U.S. citizenship. And the next couple of slides just talks about the citizen requirements and how to meet those. We'll spend a little bit of time. All right, next. Proof of voter registration from another state does not prove that you are a U.S. citizen as far as Georgia is concerned. Okay. Back up, please. Okay, after a person has deemed, after we have deemed that they are a U.S. citizen, we have to retain paperwork for 2 years on that. That's important. And then prior to approving application, the registrar may look at the deceased and the databases associated with that and felonies. Next. All right, this talks about the rules of residency. And we're just going to take a look at, most of them say intent, the voter intent. It's all about the voter intent. Next. 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 So really, unless a person goes to another state and actually registers to vote and votes, they pretty much have not lost citizenship in Georgia. Just because they buy a house in another county or state does not mean that they've lost residence. All right, a husband and wife do not have to have the same voting address. If you're a student at a college, you have not lost residency in this county. And members of the armed forces have not lost residency just because they had to be stationed somewhere else, or they have not gained residency just because they came to Camden County as a duty station. Next. If someone goes to the District of Columbia or other federal territory, another state or foreign country to engage in government service, they have not lost their residency in Georgia. If a person is judged mentally ill and committed to an institution for a mentally ill, they have not lost their residency in Camden. They have not gained it in the other, wherever they're at either. And talking about if someone votes. If they vote in another state, they've automatically lost their residency in Georgia and they will be removed. Next. The specific address in the county or municipality in which a person has declared a homestead exemption, if homestead exemption has been claimed, shall be deemed the person's residence address. Okay, so if you claim homestead, more than likely that is going to be your residence. Now, there's a caveat to that, and it goes on to the next one. The registrars can use a preponderance of evidence where you receive your mail, where you register your cars, and that can all be used to figure out your residency. So we have a lot of people say, hey, I know that Joe Smith, he moved. I know he moved. So he can't be on our voter rolls. Well, that's not true in most cases. All right, it's all about the intent of the voter. Next. And it just talks about the intent relevance, what all the registrars have to look at when they're talking about residency and figuring out if a person is resident, have gained or lost a residency here in Camden. Next. All right, talking about the voter registration cards and people in the armed services and overseas. Next. Okay, the only registration cards issued or authorized for use by the Secretary of State or National Voter Registration Card. So you can't write a letter to the registrars and say, hey, I want to vote in Camden. You have to actually use the application that's approved by the Secretary of State or the National Voter Registration Card. Okay, legal residents of the state and citizens of the United States who is a member of the Armed Forces of the United States or Merchant Marine, is a spouse or dependent of a member of the Armed Forces of the Merchant Marine who will be absent from such person's county of residence until the time for registering for an ensuing primary election, may make proper application of voter registration on the federal postcard or write-in absentee ballot provided by the Uniform and Overseas Citizen Absentee Voting Act. So they have another couple of caveats that they can use if you're overseas and you're in the military or merchant marine. Next. Permanent overseas citizens, we've got a couple of those. They can vote for the presidential electors, senators, and House of Representatives only. Okay, and their residence is considered the courthouse. So a properly executed registration card submitted under the provisions of B, which is the UACAVA, so if you're overseas, shall be considered to be an application for an absentee ballot. So not only are they registering at that time, they're also requesting an absentee ballot. And a person who has never lived in the United States, but their parents are United States citizens, can register to vote. They can either pick their parents' mom's address or dad's address, whichever they would like. Just for voting purposes. Next. And the deadline to register to vote in this state of Georgia is between 29 and 30 days, depending on if there's a holiday. Any questions for me? All right, I got some questions for y'all. See how we do this time. All right, what is the minimum age a Camden County resident who is also a U.S. citizen is authorized to register to vote?
17 and a half.
17 and a half. What is the minimum age a registered voter is authorized to vote?
18.
18. Is a convicted felon that has completed their sentence authorized to register to vote?
Yes.
Yes, as long as they have completed their sentence. Next. Oh, good.
Us that they've been released, because otherwise they pop up on the felon list, so we have to have proof from them.
Right. So there is a process. All right. How many years must the election superintendent retain all documents that were submitted as evidence of citizenship?
2 years.
2 years. Does a voter lose residency upon temporarily moving out of Camden County with the intention of returning?
No.
No. If a voter goes to another state and votes, have they lost residency in Camden County?
Yes.
Okay. Under what circumstance would a voter registration application also be considered an application for an absentee ballot?
UACAVA.
Okay. So voter registration card if they're overseas.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. And they can't be within the area a lot of time. Okay. What are the only offices a permanent overseas citizen is authorized to vote for?
President, U.S. Senate, and U.S. House of Representatives.
Okay. All federal offices. If a U.S. citizen who has never lived in the United States, is a U.S. citizen who has never lived in the United States authorized to register to vote?
Yes.
Yes. How many days prior to an election must a person register to vote?
29 to 30.
29 to 30. Okay. And thank you. There was some question about how long this was going to take. I think those questions have been answered. All right, so upcoming dates. The next MPOC regular meeting will be Monday, September 25th, 2023, and I believe that's at 10 a.m.
Correct.
And that'll just be a cleanup for whatever the board had, questions the board may have had. Columbus Day is Monday, October 9th, 2023. The county offices will be closed. Our next regular board meeting will be Thursday, October 19th, 2023. Veterans Day will be Friday, November 10th, 2023. And I'll just add in here another important date. Our November Board of Election Registration meeting will be November 6th. And Thanksgiving holiday is Thursday and Friday, November 23rd and 24th, and the county offices will be closed. Additional public comments? No public comments? Oh, we do have. Awesome.
Mary Beckman, District 3. This isn't a comment, but a question. You went so quickly from item G to item H that I didn't catch. Did you get unanimous consent up there at the dais? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just,
So
you
I'll
were
go back
so
and
efficient.
So, I'll go back and clarify. So this is just the process, this one step in the process of getting the precincts and the pollings changed. We're just authorized the election superintendent or supervisor to publish the notifications.
Yeah, it was just a question of parliamentary procedure because you
Yeah.
were going so quickly. I didn't notice. I was looking down and taking notes. I didn't notice you.
I was a little taken aback how fast it was too, but Mrs. Saffa was all over it. Any other public comments?
Can I just say, thank you very much. Dennis, you did such a great job. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I do want to thank one of the MPOC committee members also. Outstanding. All right, if there are no objections, this meeting will adjourn. Since there is no objection, this meeting is adjourned.
That's like, that should be.